There's a scene in one of my favorite movies, Keeping the Faith, in which young Rabbi Jake Schramm, played by Ben Stiller, is being considered as a replacement for the retiring venerable Rabbi Ben Lewis, played by Eli Wallach. The word on the street is that Rabbi Schramm is the new act in town, and soon the seats at B'nai Ezra in New York City are filling up. Of course, for the sake of theatrics, he tries to shake things up even more. Into this hallowed and staid congregation, he brings no less than the Harlem Gospel Choir dressed in full robes to sing Ein Keloheinu. He's quickly yanked back into the rabbi's study by Rabbi Lewis and a horrified temple president who seethes, "Do you know what my grandfather would say if he had seen this?" Rabbi Schramm says, "Listen, guys, it's Ein Keloheinu. It's a joyous song, a prayer about praising God, about telling him or her how much we love him or her. But no matter what I do, I can't seem to get you folks to sing with any feeling. So this morning, I brought in a little help from outside. It was one hell of an Ein Keloheinu." And Rabbi Lewis adds, "Yes, it was one hell of an Ein Keloheinu." But in the end, Rabbi Schramm is told, "Look, Mrs. Katz likes to sing Ein Keloheinu the way she knows it. Tradition is not old habit. It's comforting to people. So when we strip away the stereotypes and the caricatures of Hollywood, we see the obvious. Change is uncomfortable. We all knew Ein Keloheinu growing up, and it was sung a certain way. Change the melody, and guess what? Some of us no longer know the words. So I say, on the one hand, thank God for Mrs. Katz. We are all Jews through history, through birth, and through choice. In that sense, every Jew is born old because we each have this heritage. I am of the generation that has lost either one or both of our parents by now. My personal story is that when my 97-year-old mother is no longer here, I will have lost more than a mother. So many of my friends and my age peers are white-knuckling it. We're white-knuckling our way to the last vestige of what came before us. Stories about the war, the big war, the only war. Coming to this country, the push carts. Yes, my great-grandmother had a push cart on Delancey Street. Her daughter, my grandmother, for whom I'm named, Hannah Malka, had a pin, and I got that pin I'm wearing today. And some of you have remarked on it, and I've said it's my strength pin. I wear it each time I need a little extra courage. My mother is that heritage. The struggle of her father, who came to Ellis Island alone at the age of 14 to escape the draft of the Austrian army. The word was they didn't treat Jews very well once you were drafted. Finding a bucket and a rag, he washed windows for less than a penny a window. I don't know if there was anything less than a penny in 1898, but maybe he washed 2 windows for a penny and it was half a penny each, I don't know. Of my mother's 3 siblings, she's the only one who had grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren, who will remember her or at least have a photograph with her. We then become our children's heritage, and on it has been, and it has been that way for over 5,000 years. So like Mrs. Katz, we come here for a sense of continuity. It gives us comfort to have it the same way, to recite and repeat year after year the same story of Passover, the same themes of freedom and redemption. We may liven it up with those little frog puppets or dress up like Moses, but it's the same story. Every Simchat Torah, we begin the same reading over and over again. And we carry this with us like carry-on, never to be checked at the origin of our journey, hoping it will be there when we arrive at our destination. No, it stays with us like the prescription medicine we carry to keep us alive and the jewelry we carry with us to adorn us. Now, on the other hand, the one with the 5 fingers, I say, thank God for Rabbi Schramm. He's still in the rabbi studying, and he's still arguing with Rabbi Lewis and the temple president, saying, but I want to push the people. I want them to grow. I want them to expand. There are a few backwards thinkers out there who don't really get what I do, but it's working. A year in the life as your temple president has given me this insight into tradition versus transition. First, they're not mutually exclusive. Tradition does not mean going backwards. Second, it takes a composite of leaders to really address this issue. There was an article in The Atlantic last June which described presidential leadership. President of the United States, not of Temple Beth Sholom, as really dichotomous. A leader, they said, is either transformational, one who sets out these bold objectives and takes risks to create that change, what one US president referred to as the vision thing, or a leader is transactional, one whose goals may seem less modest, but succeeds by first-rate execution and management of policy. They do not conflict. The type of leadership required at any given time really depends on a context. So let me talk to you a little about context. If I were to give you a State of the Temple address, I would begin with my classic understatement. Everything is, in a word, good. Pushed to 2 words, I'd say very good. I am more confident today than when I spoke to you as a freshly minted temple president last Yom Kippur that we will continue to meet and exceed our expectations of being fiscally responsible, engage the membership deeply and meaningfully, generate new leadership, empower the next generation, build an endowment to sustain us, and be responsive to the moment in which we live. Now that's the key for me. That's the ruling principle. The moment in which we live is moving very quickly. And we cannot afford to get stuck in the present. We must rethink everything, even those things that are very good. We must continue to think out of the box, even literally out of this box. You know, there's a never-ending supply of advice that tells us how we can and we must do more. The latest is a call to lean in. It was very popular this year. If you want to get ahead, there are books like Business at the Speed of Now and Book Yourself Solid, to mention a few. But my thought is, as in any business, we can get caught up in activity that dilutes creativity. So this year, I'm proposing that we lean back. I don't mean in the English literary reference to the idle rich, who extol the virtues of what they call masterful inactivity. Research shows that creative people are at their best when they're thinking about strategy rather than operations, whether we are doing the right thing rather than sticking to a plan. That means filling our calendars with ideas, not just meetings. Our next phase will evolve out of creative ideas that we haven't really even thought of yet. Vision will become a verb. We will engage in visioning. I propose taking stock and taking a breath. So much has happened this past year. We have had transformational change, developing the infant care program, congregational engagement, which reaches deeper into our temple community to engage the talent that is already here. A new model for our B'nai Mitzvah program that identifies with a national initiative to stop attrition of young adults and their families after the B'nai Mitzvah. We're losing them. And what about the passion and the popularity of our unplugged services and seeing the tribe's texting experience at the Jewish Museum as a tool of engagement, not rudeness? The start of our legacy campaign to build an endowment so we can count the souls touched and the minds challenged, not how much money we've raised. We've also had transactional change as well. We have a new and operational organization chart. We have a new executive director. We have created new committees. We will be steeped in both tradition and transition during this next era. To lead us forward, I am creating a strategic planning committee to vision new ways of knowing who we are demographically. You know, unlike our founding families, today we have complex identities and family structures. We have rising expectations, heightening the need to rethink our standard approaches. Our last two 5-year strategic plans were completed in 1994 and 1999. It's time. We will look at our mission statement. Does it reflect who we are and what we do? We will look at revenue sources, including new models of membership and dues structure. We will look at our framework for Jewish education, perhaps gauging growth from within as a standard. We will look at how we integrate youth education with our whole culture, not just as a freestanding silo. We will look at how we attract and develop leadership, how we best utilize our beautifully renovated space that is blissfully bursting at the seams, how we broaden our definition of communication to reflect how people of all ages will receive their information in the year 2020, and how we plan for the retirement of our senior rabbi in 2018. I'm getting my heart going there by doing this. And finally, something Rabbi Glickstein touched on at Rosh Hashanah, how we initiate the concept of justice, which is a core element, both divine and human, of who we are, into our broader community. And to be honest, I'm thinking out loud, so bear with me. If you take a view from 30,000 feet up, look down and you see Jews all over South Florida. They may or may not be members of Temple Beth Sholom. That's not the issue. But we have a shared heritage, the DNA, the wisdom, the preparation, the experience, and the desire to make an impact. You know, interestingly, that B'nai Mitzvah revolution I mentioned has as its initiative their B'nai Mitzvah age kids embrace prayer, Jewish learning, and social action with equally significant weight. Sustained social action projects. That, they say, will not only slow and perhaps stop the attrition, it will keep whole families involved and affiliated. I vision a network of partnerships between the temple and other institutions that will bring social justice to a new level. So from 30,000 feet up, we can see a bigger picture conceptually, much bigger than simply adding more to what we're already doing. As it is written in Exodus, the temple gave light to the whole world. Our young Rabbi Jake Schramm would call it, giving him an old world God with a new age spin. It sounds like a lot in a year of leaning back, yet I can feel it, and a lot of you have told me that you can feel it, that we've captured a new mood here, a sense of possibility that fuels the need for creative thought and action. Everything should be on the table. This creative and thoughtful process will undoubtedly result in consulting with experts, reaching out to diverse members of this congregation and asking them for the best they have to offer us, researching best practices around the country, and creating a strategic plan to take us to the year 2020. When all this has been accomplished in, say, the next year to 18 months, and that's ambitious, we will then have to add a little something else to the mix, some good old world, old-fashioned faith, traditional faith in one another, and some chutzpah to make sure that these things happen. As always, we pray as if everything depends on God, but we act as if everything depends on us. May you have an easy and meaningful fast, and may this year of 5774 be sweet, be healthy, be loving, accepting and peaceful for all of you, your loved ones, and the world.